Hey, fellow backtrackers, I'm Alex McClellan.
I'm Mason McClellan.
And we're the Backtrack Brothers. We go back and watch classic movies and we talk about how they hold up now.
We do.
Yeah, today we're going to be going back and watching the classic Tom Hanks film, Forrest Gump.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's just start off with a little bit of personal background. Mason, did you ever see this movie prior to me tossing it out there as something for us to review?
No.
Gotcha.
I didn't I knew about, the name of the movie.
Right.
And I knew that the guy had a weird voice. But other than that, I didn't know if this was like a football movie, which I thought it was by the beginning. And then it changed to like a war kind of theme, and I was like, okay. And then, so I didn't know where this movie was going. So
yeah,
it did catch me by surprise. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but you heard.
I heard of Forrest Gump, but I've never seen it.
You've heard Run, Forrest, Run. I'm sure you've heard that many times
and
before.
I heard Shrimp Boat. So, yeah.
Good. So you had some idea of Forrest Gump, but you had never seen it. And I'll tell you what's interesting. Most of the movies that we go back and watch on this channel are ones that I watched when I was younger and I want to introduce to Mason. This is the first one that we're covering that I did not watch when I was younger. But it was something that everyone told me, oh my God, you never saw Forrest Gump. It was just a blind spot for me. And I finally just sat down about a month ago, and it's streaming now on Netflix, and I think maybe on something else too. But I think a bunch of Tom Hanks movies like Castaway, like a bunch of the great ones are all on Netflix right now. And I just sat down and watched it one night, and I'll tell you what, it was not what I expected.
Really?
That's for sure. Yeah. Oh no, because I heard it's like the run through history and There's a lot of racy stuff in there. For example, my wife told me before I watched the movie, when I told her I was thinking about watching it. Said, oh yeah, we watched that in history class. What? After watching it, I'm like, well, they must have fast forwarded through a couple of parts.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later. We'll get to that in the spoiler zone where we get more in depth. But
I can imagine watching a few of those scenes in history class.
Yeah. Next up, let's talk about visuals, Mason. Was there anything positive or negative that stuck out to you visually about this movie?
So there's nothing it's not like the next Marvel movie or anything where they're throwing a bunch of special effects in there. So there's nothing to really judge too much off of on the visuals. There was a part where they put them in that black and white
historical footage. Yeah, they did that.
I thought they did a good job with that.
I thought it was decent. There's a couple of times where you can see the people John Lennon, I think is the worst one. You can see his mouth does not line up with the words that are coming out. And so I think there's a couple of spots that nowadays it would look if they could do the deep fake, it would probably be a lot better. But to your point, for an early 90s movie, I think it's pretty good.
And then towards the end with there's just some cool unique landscape shots, especially with the girl's house.
Agreed.
Her dad's house or whatever at the end when she was throwing the rocks. Yeah, I thought that when she was laying down by it, that was just that's like a wallpaper. So.
I think so too. Yeah. This is one thing I thought, especially on my rewatch. I was like, this is a very visually striking scene because there's no words, there's no dialogue in that.
And even when they're running in the cornfield and Tori pans up and the dad walks out of the house, I get
chills thinking.
That is definitely one of the more freaky moments in the movie. We'll talk about the spoilers.
But no, I agree. I think in the running, I don't think I'm spoiling anything there when he goes on the giant run and you see across the whole country, you see all these different landscapes and stuff. You could tell the director knew what he was doing. There's some beautiful shots throughout that sequence.
100%.
And I would say even the war stuff, the explosions and the injuries that you see, I think they're all pretty realistic. So I think they did a good job visually with this movie. Now, next section. Audio and score for this film, which the music was done by Alan Silvestri. And that's more of the composing and stuff like that, but obviously the soundtrack to this movie is very thick and filled with a lot of classic rock tracks. This was one of the best selling soundtracks of that generation of movies in that 90s realm. But what did you think of it? I'm curious because I was saying, the classic rock appeals to me, and in the early 90s they were more popular. I'm curious what your reaction was.
I didn't have anything against it.
Okay.
I thought it fit in relatively well.
Yeah.
And but there wasn't anything, it's not like a Hans Zimmer score or anything where there's anything striking.
Right, no.
There was one little moment where at the end when, I'm not going to spoil anything, but these slow strings creep in, a dramatic moment. And I thought that they did a good job, and that wasn't, it was one example of them not using the 90s classic rock that paid off.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. No, I totally agree. Especially the scenes when he's a kid, early on and stuff. They put like that very light and magical, like when he's first meeting Jenny and hanging out with her, and like it's that light whimsical composition, and then to your point at the end where it's a little different. But yeah, it's almost like you have a lot of more composition heavy stuff in the beginning and the end. In the middle, where you have all like the war and the action stuff, it's just all classic rock. It's really weird actually when you think about it. I looked it up. There are 6 songs from The Doors, and there are at least 2 songs from Jimi Hendrix. Like, there's honestly, it's crazy how many songs. It is. No, it's the sound. Like I said, the soundtrack for this movie was a big hit, and it's not a coincidence. Like that. This is back when movies would shove like 20 awesome songs in.
Yeah.
Like, it's so expensive now. You can't do that. You just can't. Next up on the review choo-choo train, we're going to talk about acting, and obviously we're going to lead it off with the star of this film, Tom Hanks.
Dude.
And I want to toss out. Is this your first Tom Hanks film?
I've seen Toy Story.
I guess that counts. It's voice acting, but I mean, no. So this is your live action.
I've never seen any of the movies where he's been the main guy.
Gotcha. Cool.
So yeah, Saving Private Ryan, never seen.
Yeah, but there's so many to even list. It's hard to even keep track of all of them. Castaway. Like, there's so many. He's so prolific. But yeah, so your thoughts?
But I mean, I want to see more Tom Hanks movies after watching this movie. I think this is a hard role to match, and he does a great job.
I think so too.
Huge credit to him because he made it seem believable. He made the emotional beats hit. He made the funny beats funny.
Yeah.
I just thought he couldn't have done a better job.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not the first one to say this, but I'm gonna put it out there. I think Tom Hanks is the best common man actor. Like I think anyone can relate to him because he's not too good looking, he's not too charismatic, but when he wants you to feel that emotion, you feel it like every single time. No matter which movie it is, if I'm rewatching it, if I'm watching it for the first time, watching it for the 5th time, he just has a talent that just pulls it out of you. It's, oh my gosh, even not to get into spoilers too much, but there's certain characters I don't like in this movie, but just because of his emotions, I feel for that person. It's messed up, man. He's very talented, and I think he won an Oscar for this. I know the movie beat out Pulp Fiction and other ones for Oscars that year, which that was a whole fucking thing. But I know we're far enough away from that now that people are holding against it.
I know people don't like this movie just because it won over Pulp Fiction and movies like that.
Come on, dude, don't be pretentious. I understand this is definitely more of a down the middle road, but listen, sorry, we're getting off track. But Tom Hanks, I think we both agree, kills it. I think this role, it would be very easy to slip into comical territory, and I think he does a good job of walking the fine line of being funny when he's supposed to be funny, but you take him serious, the rest of the time. Which, very impressive in my eyes. Next up, we're going to be talking about an actress named Robin Wright who played Jenny. What were your thoughts? I want to put this out there because I think it's important to separate this. What did you think about the actress's performance?
I thought the actress's performance matched the character.
Right, yes, I think you're good, right? So she delivered what was expected of her character, but I just set you up. What do you think about Jenny as a character? You can't go too far into spoilers. But
can we talk about this in the spoiler section just so I can go out?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're kind of cliffhangering. Backtrackers out there.
Exactly.
For the spoiler section, but I think, are we both going to go off on her?
We're both going to go off on her. But the thing is, so the important thing to note in this section of acting, the non-spoiler part, is that we both agree, great acting performance. Just some questions about the character. And we'll delve into that later. All right, let's move on. So next up, I got to talk about who I think is a revelation in this film. This is Gary Sinise as Lieutenant Dan.
Dan the Man.
I have heard the name Gary Sinise. I'm not really familiar with his work, but hot damn, do I love him in this movie. And the fact that he has to transform from a leader, military guy who's fully able and doing all that stuff to where he ends up in the movie, it's nuts, dude. I always think that is the most impressive thing, that he literally does 3 or 4 performances in one.
He's basically three characters, same character, And, you know, he did a great job. I loved him in every single little moment of, like, his character development.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, he didn't drop the ball. And again, just like Tom Hanks, is a hard role to perform. And he did a great job.
He had a couple moments where he might have, you know, went into the overacting territory a little bit when he pulls Forrest off the bed.
Yeah.
That's a little over the top for me. But you know what? I get it. I still get the emotion of that scene.
Yeah.
He goes a little over the top. But you know what? Some of my favorite actors do that, so I can't complain too much. But yeah, huge fan of Lieutenant Dan in this movie. All right, everybody. We have now reached spoilers. Boom! We are in the spoiler zone. Nothing is off limits. We can talk about anything we want. Let's fucking go on in on bitch Jenny. She sucks. She sucks.
She is awful.
She is a horrible human being. I will fight anyone that wants to argue with me about it. I'm not saying that she did not have a rough upbringing. I am not saying that she was not put in terrible circumstances. 100% she was. But god damn it, when she puts Forrest through in this movie,
dude, first off, she cannot like even have the thought of turning any of it around. She is actively choosing to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
She has plenty of opportunities, so many opportunities where Forrest lays his heart out to her. She stomps on it like a wicked bitch.
Self-destructive.
So
crazy. And I mean, the only reason that I'm rooting for her is because of Forrest Gump's attraction to her.
Exactly.
And it's like you said, we're like, you know, Tom Hanks did such a good job to where one of your least favorite characters, you like more because of the main character's performance.
Exactly.
So
it's one of those things, it's the star-crossed lovers thing, right? Like, they're polar opposites, where Tom Hanks is, you know, not the smartest guy, but he lives by, you know, a certain code and, you know, tries his best and just has a good heart and just tries to do the right thing, and you know he's succeeding in life. Versus I want to be a star, and like and just ends up in all these like the alternative phases. Like he's going through more like the, you know, going through the government and serving your country and, you know, trying to build a family. He wants like the conventional type of life, and she's, you know, she's doing the hippie thing, then she's doing the coke phase, then she's literally going through each bad phase you could go through in the time period she was alive at her age. She literally was doing the worst thing she could be doing, and all Forrest does is show up and try and save her numerous times, the way she goes, no, you're too stupid. You're a stupid man and you're stupid. I can't be with you.
And then eventually, it just all is completely pointless because at the end they end up together anyway.
Which is ridiculous. No, because the only time they're not together until she's terminally ill and she knows it.
I know.
So here's the thing I'll toss out there. How long would Forrest have not known about this kid? Like, so for example, if she never got terminally ill, would she have told him about the kid at some point? Or did she only tell him at that moment because she was terminally ill?
Ooh, that's a good point.
That's my whole thing.
Or did she only go back because she had no other options?
Of course, like that. Oh, yeah, well, she definitely didn't have parents. We know that, and I don't think they didn't show a sibling at all that I know of. So yeah, I can't imagine she seemed like the type of person that built a lot of bridges and maintained good relationships with people. So yeah, he probably was a last resort. She was terminally ill. She's like, this kid who's Haley Joel Osment, by the way, who was in The Sixth Sense. He's the little kid in that. I see dead people. That whole thing. That blew my mind when I saw him. Really? I was like, no fucking way, he's in this movie. But yeah, it's fucking cool. Anyway,
is he older in The Sixth Sense, or is he the same?
No, he's still young. It's like I think Sixth Sense came out like a couple years later. So, but he's like 2 or 3 in this, and he's like throwing out full sentences and shit. You weren't doing that.
No. And real quick, sorry, this is really off track, but only for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
This kid's
we're way off track. I don't even know what I'm talking about right now.
This kid's throwing out full sentences. Those kids on that bus couldn't act for shit. Where are these guys? Did they just pull up to a random elementary school? Like, you guys are acting for Forrest Gump today.
They save a lot of money on the budget. Yeah, honestly, the Army bus isn't much better. The bus drivers, both bus drivers though, grade A performances by them. Love it, love it. You MAGA, I don't care who you are, get on the bus! You're in the Army now! That's perfect. Oh, also, while we're talking about the Army, love a hard-ass drill sergeant. I love the hard-ass drill sergeant. You're the smartest guy in the troop! I love that. This is the funniest shit ever. You need to watch Full Metal Jacket.
Got it.
And, oh my lord, the drill sergeant in that movie, it's legendary. He has like 20 minutes. There's like YouTube videos, just montages of all of his best lines. It's like 10 minutes long, so he just kills it the whole time.
Yeah.
So anyway, just love a good
and
drill sergeant.
And also him playing ping pong?
So hold on. So, let's just talk in general. All right,
we really got off track.
I know. We just went off on Jenny and then
we're on ping pong.
We're all off. But let me try to regroup this a little bit. So let's just talk about just big picture what's going on in this movie, right? All right. So this movie is literally a movie, right?
Yeah.
About a borderline autistic dude running through his life on a bench to anybody willing to listen. It's not like he has like someone really important to him that's really invested in his story. He's just sitting there just blah, 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 blah to whoever is sitting next to him.
Luckily that one granny shows up, but yeah.
Thankfully. Oh, well, yeah, if it wasn't for her, he would have never even made it to the freaking apartment he was going to. How many buses do you think he missed sitting there telling this story? He should, at least 15, right? Like, he should have gotten on the bus numerous times in this story.
Like an hour and 30-minute story. That's a lot of buses.
So the fact that that's the plot of the movie is mind-blowing to me, right? Okay, then add on top of that, he's involved with like every historical event that was like in his geographic location throughout his whole life. He becomes a mainstream celebrity numerous times. He meets 3 presidents.
And for all different reasons.
So really, Mason, I honestly think you could take any of these storylines. I have a list of storylines here, right? That are a result of his life. Yeah. I think you can make any one of these their own movie. Okay. Right? All right, so ready? Kid coincidentally becomes an all-star college kick returner for Alabama.
That could be a movie.
Olympic level ping pong prodigy.
From the Army, yep.
Yeah, from the Army. After serving in Vietnam. Viet-fucking-Nam! Getting award from multiple presidents for awards of bravery in the military. That could be its own movie. Showing the president's bullet wound in his ass. I feel like that's a Mad TV sketch or an SNL sketch. That could definitely happen. Making the giant speech at the anti-war rally. How he got there, and then hooking up with his lost love in the big pool and the giant scene. Like, that could have been its own movie, for sure. We're talking about sitting next to John Lennon on the Dick Clark show. How the fuck does that happen? And what happens after that? Does he hang out with John Lennon? Do they do acid? There's so many questions. So many. Becoming rich off of a shrimp boat that he was motivated by his dead army friend and surviving a storm to outlast all of the other local shrimping competition. That's just one small thread of this movie. That's crazy, dude. There's whole movies about this. So much. Then we're not done. Running for 3+ years straight. That's a documentary waiting to happen. Right? Isn't that a 4-part
How
Netflix
would he
series?
accomplish this much?
This guy, while being mentally limited. It really goes to show you are not limited by, what's going on in your head. It's your will. It's about your strength and your perseverance.
But damn, he did a lot.
You did a lot, and I'm not done. His former girlfriend calls him up and announces they had a kid and that she's terminally ill and that he has to take care of the kid the rest of his life without a mother. And then he visits her grave and delivers that "I miss you, Jenny" part, which is making me tremble right now as we say it.
Really?
Trembling. Tremble.
Yeah.
That is so much. So much has happened in this guy's life. And it's kind of surprising they can fit all of that in and it not feel too bloated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll say this, a sign for me if a movie's too long is if I pause it to see how much time is left in it.
Yeah.
I never did that with this movie, which is impressive for a movie that is, 2 hours and 10, 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
How about you? What did you think about the pacing?
I thought the pacing was pretty good.
Yeah.
At one point, when they got off, I think it was like around the hour mark when they went back to him on the bench telling the story.
Yeah.
I was like, because I thought like at certain points the movie was about to end, and then it just kept cutting to more events like the shrimping boat and a whole bunch more shit. That just like I was like, wait, there's still more that's happening.
Yep, it's a never-ending story.
Yeah. But I mean, I thought that besides,
but not in a bad way.
Not in a bad way.
Right.
I thought the pacing was still good, but I thought there were multiple moments where they could have, cut out like the stripping boat or the ping pong and still cut the same movie.
Imagine all the stuff that did get cut. Like, think about that. Imagine there is.
He could have been like a Russian wrestling champion, for all we know.
Going to what you're saying about like just a lot of events, just kind of quick cutting from one event to the other and just kind of not stopping. The tone shifts. Yeah. There's so many things where you're in a sad scene, and then all of a sudden it's a happy scene, and all of a sudden like there's so much back and forth. Yes. I think it kind of helps keep it fresh and exciting.
So you don't think any of this is a con? about like the amount of this movie and like the tone switches?
Personally, for me, I'm not. But I could see other people thinking that it's way too like all over the place. Yeah. I could see people thinking that. But I also think that movies nowadays are trending towards that direction. You know, I think movies now are getting closer to online mediums where it's about fast cuts and keeping people's attention and all that stuff. You're gonna keep people in a movie theater for an hour and a half, 2 hours. You gotta have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe Forrest Gump is even a little ahead of its time with shoving all this shit in a 2.5 hour movie. I gotta say, my most emotional moment, because I did not expect this at all, because nobody spoiled this for me before seeing this movie, is him meeting his son. And Tom Hanks' like shocked face when she tells him it's his kid.
That's what I was talking about, like the slow strings and everything.
Dude, like that is such a powerful, not just his, it is his reaction that definitely supplies it, but let's imagine putting yourself in those shoes. And I imagine it's hard more as a 15-year-old, but as a 30-year-old man that's thinking about having a child, like that, it would be mind-blowing to just walk in and
this is our baby.
That would be my face. It just felt so real, and it's a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, where Tom Hanks can just wrench that emotion out of you. The "I miss you, Jenny" line when he's at he's half choked up when he says it. Oh man, it's just so affected. It's one of the reasons I love movies. It makes you feel, man. I enjoy that. Not everything can do that, you know. There's something that can really. The older I get, I'm finding the more I'm crying at movies.
Really?
Something for you to look forward to. I think as you get older, you get more emotional capacity because you experience more in life, you relate to more things, you know, or I don't know, maybe I'm just becoming more of a softie.
I didn't have too much of an emotional core, I'll be real.
No, it's fair. No,
I didn't relate to it as much as I feel like you did, other people did.
And you know what, I bet when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have, you know, connected with it the way I did. Honestly, I'm kind of glad I waited to watch this movie until I was older and could connect with some of the more mature themes a little bit more. You know, even the stuff like just the drugs and all this type of stuff with Jenny and like when she mentions a virus, I don't know if you probably didn't, you may have connected these dots, but like this was around the time that like the AIDS epidemic was going on. So I think it's kind of implied, it's not explicitly said that, but if you were aware of what was going on around that time, you gotta think, oh man, like, because it makes sense, especially with the lifestyle she was living before that, something like that.
That makes sense, 'cause I was a little bit confused how it just seemed kind of lazy to me how they're like, oh, she has a disease, she has a virus.
But no,
but it does make sense, you know, you put everything together, but she's been through that, you can piece it together.
Yeah, and she explicitly says it's a virus, which, you know, HIV is, virus.
Yeah. So, I was like, I thought, you know, to me who didn't know that, I was like, oh, they just had her out of a virus for no reason, just get it wrong.
No, see, that's the type of stuff that, like, if you're in the know, then that's actually a nice little sneaky thing they did, but if you're not aware, then you're like, that's some lazy.
But why couldn't they just said she had HIV?
Well, I think when this movie came out, it was during the time when all of that was big.
Yeah.
So I think it was trying to be tasteful and not be like, hey, Jay's a total whore. They wanted to leave a little bit of room for interpretation. All right, fellow backtrackers, we are now at the conclusion where we are going to give a final numerical score, grade, whatever you want to call it, for Forrest Gump. Mason, why don't you start us off so you don't copy my score again?
Again?
Yeah.
I just agreed with you. I didn't all right.
Potato.
Nevertheless, I did really enjoy this movie. I thought its storytelling was great.
Yep.
You know, didn't like a few of the characters, but I thought, you know, the highs kind of really outweighed the lows. Yep. I didn't have as much of an emotional pull that I know a lot of people did. I didn't really understand the political stuff that kind of gets some people annoyed, but I think for me, it's like a 9.3 out of 10.
Woohoo, man, that's higher than I expected.
Really?
Yeah, I did not. I was thinking.
There's not too many flaws besides, you know.
Yeah, and that's where there's a reason this movie won awards, man. Yeah. Like, it is a very technically sound and just overall the writing, visually sound, like there's something for everyone to enjoy. I think that's where a lot of people don't like it, is differently like a middle of the road movie. It's a crowd pleasing movie, right? Versus Pulp Fiction, like there's even some people that don't like Pulp Fiction, which is it's just different. Versus Forrest Gump is supposed to appeal to a mass audience, and it's why it's universally praised. And you know what, Mason? Screw you. I'm giving it a 9.3.
This is the respect I get as the little brother.
I get no respect. Get no respect at all. Yeah, that's exactly right. No, but
So why are you giving it a 9.3?
I'm gonna echo a lot of sentiments you did. I really think that there's not much I would change. There's not many roles I would switch. There's definitely some weird things I would take out, kind of like how his family is tied to the KKK. Probably would have cut that part. There's a couple of weird things that kind of stuck out that you probably could have cleaned up.
Yeah.
Definitely could have taken 10 or 15 minutes off this movie. That would be my argument for the couple of knockdowns. Visual effects could be a little bit better. If you like remastered this, it would look fucking awesome.
And Jenny. No, you don't like Jenny.
Jenny, but like the acting performance is great, but I do have troubles with how that character is written. I understand she had a bad background, but to make it so like every single decision she makes is the wrong one, it's kind of frustrating. I would have liked a real redemption, because I don't think she has an actual redemption at the end. I think some people think she does. I don't think she does.
Because again, I think the real reason she went back to Forrest Gump is she had nothing left.
Exactly. So, the kid would have ended up in the foster system if she didn't go back to him. That's literally was their two options, and she chose Forrest. I bet you she took some time to think about it. So yeah, 9.3 for both of us. We think that's a very fair score. Please tell us what you think of Forrest Gump. If you didn't see it and then got tantalized by our video and came back and watched it afterwards, please let us know if we led you in the right direction, because we're trying to help people out watching good movies. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Stop watching bad movies. Hashtag no more bad movies.
Hashtag no more murder mystery too.
Thanks for checking out this video.
Like and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about the movie in the comments below.
Let us know if there's any movies you want us to watch. Who knows, maybe we'll watch them together.